Hey guys, welcome to another video for Team Lotus Box. Today I'm going to be playing the TEMUR CLOVER deck. I played this in the Arena MCQ and I put a lot of time into practicing with the deck. It's a tricky deck, but I think that if you put in the time to learn all the lines and play patterns, it's really worth it. So, going over what makes the deck tick, the key engines are Edgewall Innkeeper and Lucky Clover. Edgewall Innkeeper lets you draw a card every time you cast an adventure creature, so you can play these really efficient interactive adventure creatures in Brazen Bar and Bone Crusher, and the Big Body and Lovestruck Beast. These are all good cards on their own, and when combined with Innkeeper or Clover, they just generate so much value. Clover doubles the spell part of the creature, which is really useful with Beanstalk Giant to really let you get tons of lands quickly. As well as these interactive spells, and lets you just completely take over the game in the late game with all these free spell casts. Fae of Wishes is your late game engine. You can also play it as a blocker in the early game, and it lets you search for the perfect answer to any problem you might be facing. One thing that I've been trying lately is adding 2 Nissas to the deck in the spot of the Incubation and the Great Henge from the original list. I think that Planeswalkers are kind of on the rise, and it lets you pressure them, like Teferis and Narsets out of Bant, especially. And then the other thing is that it's just a generically powerful card that might let you sidestep people who came prepared to deal with your Innkeepers and your Clovers. In the board, playing a pretty stock sideboard with a bunch of interactive spells. We have 2 counters, some Aether Gusts, Disenchant, Mystic Repeal, and then we have our kill conditions. We have Fling, Embercleave, and Expansion Explosion. You can often tutor up Fling and Expansion and just deal 30, which can let you steal games even when you're behind. And then Embercleave is a nice way to shift into a beatdown plan that works well when you don't have a Clover or are just like in the mid game and want something to really shut the door. So I've liked that addition. And then you have a couple card advantage spells and Escape the Wilds and Once in Future. Let you keep grinding if that's what you need. Aside from that, it's just a Wrath, a Spyglass, and another removal spell. So that's the deck. A lot of options and a lot of fun. So let's give it a shot. Play some ranked, and here we go. So on the draw, this hand is interesting. We have Clover, and if we hit a land, we can Beanstalk. Our odds of missing on a land are quite low, and I think that this hand is pretty much the nuts if we do draw a land, so I'm going to keep it. One sec, just going to be editing. Alright, and we got there. So Op tells us that they could be Temur Rec, they could be a Flash deck, a couple possibilities. And we're just going to jam the Clover. It's not going to get better if they are a deck with counter spells. We really want to get that under their counter magic. Once you have a Clover down against a Flash deck, it becomes a really favorable spot because you're definitely able to fight through counter magic extremely well. They have to counter the original and the copy if they want to stop the spell from resolving. So you're just going to go for Beanstalk. They can counter part of it if they want. Okay, and they elected to do that, but we still get the copy. So Here, I would like to be able to Love Struck Beast, but I do need blue mana so badly that I will just wait, do that later, and get an island. So Mystical Dispute in the main and the 2 islands means that they're almost certainly blue-green flash. Small chance they're Temur Rex still, but... Alright, so we're probably just going to be casting a couple Love Struck Beasts over the next couple turns. And they can decide whether they want to counter this. Alright, so they will be countering the front half. So now I get to decide whether I want to just slam a Love Struck Beast or use the adventure half. And I think I'm going to go for the adventure. I will scry before I make my decision, but I think we can take a land here. I do think that casting the adventure part and making sure we get all the value we can out of this card is going to be worth it in the long run. We're definitely taking the control role in this matchup, so not so worried about pressuring them with the Love Struck Beast as we are about getting every ounce of value we can. Alright, and here I think I'm just going to be casting Love Struck Beast. That will lock the ground up against a potential wolf, and then we also are able to bounce the wolf and the token on their turn. Okay, so they did have a counter spell. That's totally fine though. They're not going to get to scry. We tied up their mana for a turn. And we're cool to just sit here and trade resources for as long as they want to do that, because our clover means that we're going to come out on top in the end. Alright, Spectral Sailor complicates that a little bit. Now we really have an incentive to make plays and tie up their mana like every turn from here on out. So I think I am fine just trading these tokens for a Frilled Mystic. And okay, they have an unsummon. That seems pretty fine to me. I don't want to bounce their Frilled Mystic, so yeah, we'll just let this all happen. And now I think I'm going to go for a Nissa. Again, just trying to tie up their mana. Will leave myself with probably want enough mana to cast. If I had a breeding pool, it would make my life a lot easier, because then I could wish and then untap a 3/3. I probably want to leave enough mana to cast a 3/1. So yeah, I can tap like this and then just untap a blue source. If their last card's a counterspell, we're kind of not in great shape, but double Fae of Wishes will probably dig us out of a hole if that's what the spot we find ourselves. Alright, and looks like they did not have a way to interact. Since we have so many red sources, I think the Steam Vents can get suited up. And I will attack, because if they have a Nightpack Ambusher, I'm totally happy just bouncing that on the Sailor. So they'll probably just draw a card here. Seems pretty okay for us. I like being in a spot where I have a Nissa on board, double Fae. Just going to be able to work a massive mana advantage and take over the game. Alright, so they're really in the tank here. Probably digging for a Nissa of their own. And, alright. Fine with rattling off a block. Interesting, they're just leaving the Nissa. So that might mean an Aether Gust or some other form of interaction with it. But that's something we can deal with. As long as it's not like interaction plus a counter would be the nightmare scenario. It looks like since we're stopped in our upkeep, we are going to be getting Aether Gusted. Or Brazen Barred, okay. And I'm not really going to be afraid of a counter here. Feel confident, just we'll shock here. And we'll play Nissa, and then we can actually Fae, and oh dang. Alright. So they had the best possible card they could have had. And we'll be able to pressure us pretty effectively with the Spectral Sailor. So our number one priority in this spot definitely has to be getting the Sailor off the board. So I think one card I'll look for is Dahmer's Ambush. And then the next one will be an Escape to the Wilds. I can just play the Fae part of Fae of Wishes and then Dahmer's Ambush their Spectral Sailor, and then I can rely on Escape to start turning the corner with some card advantage. Now, it's not a foolproof plan. They could draw a counter off their first draw, but I think that is probably enough to give me a good shot at winning this game. Alright, so here's where they'll get to look for a counter. As long as they brick, we should be in a good spot to win this game. Alright. And yep. So they will have two cards. Alright, so we'll start with this Escape. If they haven't drawn a counter, it should be game on its own. And it looks like we were lucky enough for them to have bricked. So I'm just going to spend this turn deploying some Lucky Clovers. And then after that, we'll cast Fae, wish for 4 different cards, and that should completely put the game away. I'm going to leave this back. Just want to protect our life total. We're way ahead. Oh. Alright, so they had a pretty powerful sequence of their own here. And if they have another Night Pack off the top, we could be in some trouble. But if not, we'll just be able to mop things up with Brazen Bar's Petty Theft option. So I think for now I'm fine just casting Escape, making sure we get all the value. And now since that did get countered, we're not going to be able to cast a Petty Theft and cast the Fae from here. So we'll just cast the Fae off of this side as a creature, and then go for bouncing all of their creatures. And we're going to put a stop in our own end step. So after that resolves, we can really get to work. Bouncing everything. Except for their Frilled Mystic. Alright, so now I know their hand is Night Pack and Brazen Borrower, and they're playing off the top. These cards are pretty good. I could also pick up Fae. I have 10 total mana, so I could pick up Fae, Wish, and then have 4 mana left over, which is enough to Storm's Wrath. I could also, if they don't respond to it, just get a Disdainful Stroke, which is pretty good. The issue is it actually puts me under a lot of pressure from their Brazen Borrower bouncing a blocker. So I think this is a turn where we can just relax, not make any action, and then end step look to pick this up after they've already put their wolf down. Because if they go for bouncing one of our wishes, we can cast Brazen Borrower from our hand to bounce their attackers, which they might do to get damage in. And then if not, we can end step, pitch these, get a Wrath, and then the game should be over. So I think this is like kind of a weird play, but I also think it's the right play. We want to make sure we Wrath once their wolf is already down. And I'll probably wait one more turn to see if I can find. Well, I mean, I guess 3 wishes I can just get a counter spell and an expansion and then be pretty much insulated against anything. So yeah, we'll go for this. And we can really just tie up any loose end that they might be trying to get us with. We'll get Disdainful Stroke to play around either a Frilled Mystic or another Wolf, and then we can get Negate to deal with a counter spell of their own. So I'll just cast this as is and hold up our little bevy of options. So unless they're two unknowns or both counter spells, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And then the nice thing is that if we get to save the explosion, then it just functions as an excellent card to put away the game. Okay. So they're going to try and cast enough spells to force us to use the explosion. It's like a reasonable plan on the Brineborn. Alright, so we'll just Disdainful Stroke the Frilled Mystic and save the explosion. It's kind of interesting whether that's correct, but I'm pretty sure that if we can play Explosion with Negate up, we're going to be in such a good spot that it's all fine. Alright, so don't show me a counter spell with that last. Alright, and we're good on lands right now. I think not blocking is worth it. We will have the option to chump later. I'll play the Fae though. We'll have enough mana. That Spectral Sailor is actually a pain, huh? Maybe I'm just on the chump block the Brineborn plan and use my explosion to take out the Fae. And I think that's what I'll go for. So I can explosion for... I probably want to leave Negate up in case they top deck a Nissa. So we'll just do it for 4. And okay. And then, alright, wonderful. Now we can triple Bone Crusher this Brineborn, and we're really just off to the races. Got triple Edgewall Innkeeper here. I'm going to tap out because at this point with triple Innkeeper and 2 blockers, I feel pretty secure against a potential Nissa. I think I can just overpower it. And we're getting to the point in the game where they're really going to get outscaled fairly quickly. Yup. Alright, that'll work against the first one, but there's more where that came from. that's for sure. Alright, they're making that a 4-3 now. I'm not going to counter an opt, just save it. I'm going to play this now, though. Might hit something I want to play. Alright, so we are flooding out a bit. I'm going to play a Clover and then hold up the activation of a Fae or negate. We can pitch some lands, start wishing, and should be good. I think I could have gotten an attack for 2 pretty safely here, but these sailors are pretty good in this matchup. So they're definitely an annoyance, that's for sure. Alright, and I'll pick up Fae, pitch the 2 Shocklands. And Bone Crusher was excellent. So here we are actually threatening lethal in a variety of ways. I'm going to start with the Clover, which makes Bone Crusher deal 10. And then I'll go to combat. If they take it, then we're just threatening 10 and direct damage. And we can wish for a fling or a variety of other things to finish them off if the 10 damage from this isn't sufficient. Alright. That was more of a grind than I thought, but we did get there in the end. So I think Brazen Borrower is like not that good in this matchup, but probably plays. The question is whether I want to trim some Nissas for Aether Gusts, which I think I do, and we'll leave the Borrowers in. Nothing else on the sideboard seems like it would be better in the main deck. We'll leave the counters to wish for in the right spot, that type of thing. Just rely on Aether Gust to slow down their aggression a little bit in some spots. Alright, this hand is pretty medium, but Bone Crusher is excellent in this matchup. And I think that having a Scryland on the draw is that I'm going to keep. The flash creatures and adventure creatures in general are very good. Kind of let us play their game decently, so we'll go with it. And we're probably going to scry most non-land. Alright, we'll keep a land. I was going to say I would top land, Innkeeper, Clover in that spot. Alright, and we do want to get that sailor off the board ASAP. So I'll put a stop in my end step and in their upkeep. And if they do something, we'll respond with Bone Crusher. And yep, that's fine. We don't need the upkeep stop anymore. And we'll just pass through their turn. Borrower is nice against Brineborn versions especially. Alright. So it's interesting. On this turn, they could have a gust. They could have like a dispute. Another Brineborn is also a possibility. I think I do want to make them use some mana, so we'll start with just the Heart's Desire portion, and then we'll probably bounce the Brineborn. Alright, so we're just going to bounce it now. And then on our turn, we'll have the option to tap their mana by casting a spell they might actually want to counter in this Beanstalk Giant. Now, if they let it through, we can shock and then Borrower again and bounce whatever threat they might be interested in playing. So I'll put a stop in my end step if this resolves, because if it resolves, it's pretty likely that they're going to Night Pack Ambusher me. It seems like this might be getting Frilled Mystic, though. Okay. Another Mystical Dispute, also pretty fine by me. That's a turn where they didn't play a threat. As long as they're not jamming a Nissa as a follow-up, I'm feeling pretty good. Alright, and then that does not look like a Nissa, so just start with the Heart's Desire. Love-Struck Beast was a good draw. A land would have been nice, but we'll definitely take this. And since they didn't have a Frilled Mystic last turn, and I think they would have cast it, we'll just go with Beast. It brickwalls this. And if this is the turn they deploy a threat, then that's nice for us. Okay. Brineborn plus Quench was a good punish, but we still have a lot of cards. Kind of a build your own Frilled Mystic in that sense. Alright, and Shifting Ceratops puts on the pressure quick. We are going to be able to Bone Crusher to handle that in the short term. And now they're top decking. So, alright. I am just going to get down the Bone Crusher. We want to brickwall that Ceratops for now. We'll probably have to take another hit from Brineborn, but that should be okay. And just need them to brick off for a couple turns, let us start playing our powerful spells, and we should be able to put this one away. So I think I'm gonna just chump. Do want to protect my life total a little bit. And cool, we got the Ceratops off the board, so that's great for us. We don't want another Fae right now. And we'll see what they do. We can act in their upkeep with a Stomp. Alright, if I knew their last card was a counterspell, leading with Borrower would have been good, but I think that it's hard to know that for sure, so. And they did ban. So, given that they have one unknown, and if they counter, they aren't pressuring us, this is a good turn to play Escape the Wilds. Now, if they have a counter spell, we at least have Fae to wish for something and then play a blocker on the following turn and just make them have another response. Okay, so they are going to opt first, try and find a counter. I think that's worthwhile, and looks like they didn't, so now we get to act. Alright, I am going to hold that Fae over playing a 1-4. We're actually a little low on gas, and well, it's interesting. Playing the Fae actually buys me so much time that I think I probably should, because I can pressure them in the air with Brazen Borrowers. It's rough if they draw Nissa this turn, though, so maybe I'm just supposed to wait. Yeah, I've talked myself into waiting. Next turn I can wish and play the body. And hold up Gust. So, alright. Here goes. I'd like to have another blue mana, but I don't want to shock. Yeah, I'm going to wish. And Once in Future Past seems really good here. And then we'll play the body. Hopefully they didn't draw much. Kind of actually pretty exposed here. Yep. Getting back double Bone Crusher would obviously be excellent. If they drew a bounce spell, we're just dead. That's fine. If they drew much of anything, we're pretty dead. Okay, so now we're just going to play the Once in Future. We'll have Adamant. And I am just going to get back double Bone Crusher, especially now that we have Lucky Clover. It seems safe. Well, no, we'll go for the escape. We do want a way to like really put the game away. So now if they counter the Clover, we can respond. And if not, we'll make a move on their upkeep. Alright, so let's rattle off a double Bone Crusher. Sweet, got there. Alright, so looks like they ran out of gas. But yeah, that's kind of why this deck is so good. It's really, the adventure creatures mitigate flood so well that when you go long, you're just very favored. Did I have fun? Yes. Alright, well I hope you guys had fun too and enjoyed the video. So thanks for being a patron and supporting us. We really appreciate it. We couldn't do what we do without you. And, you know, we'll be back next week with a new video. Bye.